Thank you guys so much for showing up on this June day. I'll keep it real short, but thank you, Andy, so much for hosting us. And I just appreciate you, and you've been a past member, so this is a great space. And Ryan, I'll let you take it away. And after that, you guys can, Dr. Newton, in case you can.
Okay, good morning everybody, how are you guys? My name is Brian LaPat, I'm the owner-operator of McDonald's here in Alva. Got several other franchises in other places. Don't want to get too much into it to take your time, but I do have some trivia linked to some semi-fabulous prizes for you this morning. So, if you're interested in some McDonald's socks, a little McDonald's bag, and a free lunch at a world-famous restaurant, you're going to want to get after it, okay? So here we go. Anybody within 3 years tell me when McDonald's as a franchise business was founded? Yes, sir.
1956.
1955, but that's within 3 years. Congratulations. Your name is?
Arden P.
All right, let's hear it for Arden. Good job. Okay.
That's awesome.
You can only win one time, Arden. Okay, I'm gonna give you 3 statements. You're gonna tell me which one is false. All right. First of all, McDonald's as a system serves more people than the entire population of the United Kingdom daily. McDonald's is the largest toy distributor on the planet. Or in the United States, you're never more than 120 miles from a McDonald's at any one point in the continental United States. Which
All
one?
three.
All three. No, one of them is false.
Oh,
Okay. Toy.
No, we are the largest toy distributor on the planet. Yes, ma'am.
120 miles from...
Yeah, it's actually 115. So at any one point in McDonald's, you win. You are never more than, I know you're worried about it. I know you get in your cars and you're like, where's McDonald's? I have to know right now where it's at. So that's that one. Okay, so because also we're a large employer of a lot of folks. We've had some famous people work for us. So I'm going to read the names of 5 famous people. You're going to tell me which one did not work at McDonald's. Okay, 1, Jeff Bezos. I'll give you a hint, he clearly did, and he missed his calling. You know? All right, number 2, did she or didn't she? Christina Aguilera, playwright Lin-Manuel Miranda, Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, or Rand Paul? Which one of those people did not work at McDonald's?
I will say Christina Aguilera.
Well, she did. She worked in the drive-thru for 6 months in Southern California.
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul's correct. Actually, Paul Ryan did, but Rand Paul did not, so very good. Very good. Well, thank you for your time, you guys. I left business cards up here. I'd love to talk and meet every one of you. I grew up in a small town in Oklahoma. My first franchise was in Kingfisher, a town that I feel like is very similar to Alva as far as where we work and the way it feels. And it's a blessing for us to be here. My wife and I have a large family of 11 children. And I'd love to talk to you about McDonald's and life or whatever else. So just give me a holler anytime. My card's here. And thank you for coming this morning. That's really why I got into business, because I couldn't feed my children. I thought they like nuggets, so this is what I want to do.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, I think I can say this for the senator too. It's nice to be finally home. We have been so far through a regular session and 1 special session, or actually 2 special sessions, because they addressed both special sessions this last week, and so it's nice to be home. It's always good to be back home. I apologize, I got a little bit of a summer cold and stuff like that. So can you hear me all right? Okay. So I told Senator I was going to hit some budget things, and then we'll hit some bills together, and then we can address your questions if that would work for you all, because that's what we're here for. This year, our budget that we allocated was $9.8 billion, one of the largest we've ever done. Last year's budget that we allocated was $8.8 billion. Remember, that's billion with a B, not M's. And we also, in the budget, included the Project Ocean, which was the new company, the incentive for the new companies to come in. That may not get spent. That only happens if the company comes in. They have to meet certain benchmarks as far as number of employees they're putting in the state and certain levels of production and all that. And so that may not be met. So we're not going to give them money for something they're not doing for the state. And so if that's not met, those monies will not be allocated out. With, you take out the Project Ocean and that, we're down to $9.2 billion. So we're only $4 billion more than what we were last year. Yeah, 400 million. So, some of the things we hit this year, we've had a long time, had a waiting list for those that are disabled, finding a place to put them. And so we've had a waiting list for years. We eliminated that waiting list by putting $32.5 million in the Department of Human Services to meet that need. And so that's something that we have. One of the other things, major things we did, is we have had a problem getting highway patrolmen and OSBI agents, OBNN, getting agents in those fields because we are paying right. And so we have increased the pay. We have municipalities that are paying more for their police force than what we've been paying for highway patrol. So we need to keep some of those highway patrols here. You know, we used to have 2 per county. Right now we have 1 per county around this area. And so it spreads them thin, puts in a lot of work on them. And so that's why one of the things we're trying to do this year. Also, our reserves at the beginning of the year was that we had money in reserve was $1.9 billion. Okay? At the end of the year, we have increased that allocation to $2.6 billion. So we've increased 1.9 to 2.5, excuse me. So we've increased it $600 million how much we have in reserves. Now, one of the economists said that it would take $3.3 to $3.7 billion to go through another downturn like we had when I came in and the senator came in. So it's good to have that money. We depend a lot on oil and gas and things that fluctuate, okay? The more you depend on ad valorem, the more you depend on personal income tax and stuff like that, those are more flat. But we have those we're trying to put an emphasis on those. And as me and I think I can say for our senator, ad valorem is not something we want to put a lot of extra cost on those people that own land. Why? I would have to pay the ad valorem tax on my property whether I make money on it or not, right? Income tax you only have to pay on what? Income you have, right? And so that's something that I look at. So just to give you an idea, so we have increased, so we're $2.5 billion in savings, which is a great place to be. I don't know that we need to get to 3.3 or 3.7, but I'm just telling you that that money isn't just sitting there for no reason at all. Now, I want to give you a little insight in how that budget is broken out. The top 5 agencies that receive money, okay, cover 70.7% of the budget, almost 71%. Number 1 is the State Board of Education with 32.8%. Education as a whole, if we took higher ed, we took common ed, we took career tech, pointing fingers, aren't we? We took all those and put them in one group. That is 47.9% of the budget. So over half of your state dollars that you send in go to education. So that is a great place for us to put money, and that's a great emphasis where we want to put our money. We gave higher ed an increase this year, and the career tech, we helped them out some also this year. So we're trying to help work in these areas. So 32.8 State Board of Ed. Next one is the Healthcare Authority with 13%. Regents of Higher Ed is 9%. Transportation is the next one. And we've done some extra. Have you noticed a lot more paving projects going on lately? That is because we kind of caught up on our bridges that we were working on for years. So now there's a lot more paving projects. In fact, they just finished a paving project that went through Cherokee. No, I did not have anything to do or request that at all myself, okay? But I do know they They just finished that. I know that they're going to improve the road south of Cherokee. I think even quicker on the list. Has anybody been down 281 south of Winoka lately? Is that a washboard or what? You can put your clothes in the back of the pickup and get them clean by the end of the time you get to Bells Junction. That is on the list coming up in the next year. So there are a lot of and a lot of these projects they're doing, they're moving to Super 2s, so they'll have a wider shoulder and a little safer. And the last one is the Department of Human Services. I told you about the emphasis we put in that. So that's 70.7% of the budgets in the top 5. If I had gone to the top 10, those top 10 cover 84% of the budget. Now I get the privilege of being over natural resources. That's DEQ, Conservation District, Tourism, which had the big scandal this year, and Water Resources Board, those kind of things. Those things that affect us back home. Department of Ag is one of my bigger ones. But our budget increased 28.9% this year. And I'm going to be honest with you, I tried to push for some of that money, but we're still only 1.6% of the budget. So, and one of the things that me and I think Senator Murdock worked with me on this and to get it was to get $3 million in a drought relief fund. We've had a drought commission around forever, okay? And you and I both know it's not if we're going to have a drought, it's when we're going to have a drought, right? And so this drought commission has never had money to respond to help get water someplace that's needed or something like that. So this would allow us to be able to move forward to get some money out there. And this, I don't think $3 million would take care of a severe drought for months and years, but it at least gives us that money there set aside. It's not going to be spent unless the governor declares a drought. So even though you spent, we said they took that out of the budget and put $3 million in that, it's sitting there. It's not going to be spent unless we have a severe drought. So anyway, I think that gives you a kind of a glance of the budget. Senator, I'm going to let you turn over and get some bills, and then I'll add into that, and we'll go from there. So. Oh, can I say something? Somebody hit me up about dark money. A lot of the negative ads that you see about people come from, we don't even know sometimes, okay? So, there's been a lot against the governor, and there's a new one, Clean Up Oklahoma? Is that what it's called? Clean Up Oklahoma. And so they want me and him to give our tax returns to them. I don't even know who they are, but they want me to give my tax returns to them, okay? So I did a little searching because I know they came out after him.
I'm their poster child.
He's their poster child. But they came out after him, and so I went and looked, and I found out the director of Clean Up Oklahoma. He is pro-Muslim, pro-abortion, and most of his friends are on the opposite side of the chambers, which would be a Democrat. So it's a way I can start up a group. I don't have to tell you who I am or anything like that. I can start up a group and say Clean Up Oklahoma. But what is their true motive? That's what gets to it. And so when they have a motive we don't know about, like attacking my friend here, I wanted to go see what it was. Because, I'm sorry, I already have to give a financial disclosure of everything I'm invested in or anything I'm having my money in. I had to do that. In fact, we ran a bill to add some other people to that. So we already give information about what we've been doing. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm not willing to turn my tax return over to somebody I don't know. Is that fair enough? And so that's one of the reasons they're going to, I don't know hardly any legislators that did it. But anyway, he's one of the ones they've been picking on. And so I want to say that. They haven't picked on me yet, but I'm sure it'll be a chance. But I want you to know, since I'm not involved in it directly, that why we are not going to do that. So anyway, Senator.
Thank you. So I just want to follow up a little bit about what Carl just said. Yeah, they're going after me because I'm #1 on the lobby list.
I've been #1 on the lobby list since I've been at the Capitol. What that is you go to dinners. That's majority what it is dinners. Everybody knows where Felt's at. 350 miles from the Capitol. I go the day early. And normally I leave a day late. When session's over, if it's late and I'm gonna get home at midnight, I stay. Well, I'm not doing you guys any good sitting in my apartment. Where I do most of my work for y'all are at these dinners. These dinners are where the decisions are being made. This is where I gather support for a bill or against a bill, is at these dinners. And the more dinners I can go to, the more influence I have over other legislators. It's not me sitting down with a lobbyist, just talking to lobbyists. These dinners, there's 10 legislators at these dinners. And we're discussing different policies that's coming through. This is where I'm influencing other legislators. And sometimes I go to 2 dinners a night. My freshman year, I went 3 dinners a night. And if you don't believe me, go back to my first few years, you could see, I'm trying to lose some of it, but I gained it. But that's where these decisions are being made, and it goes back to the old saying, if you're not at the dinner, you're what's on the menu. I wanted to be at every dinner that I could possibly go to so that I can represent y'all, because I'm not doing you any good sitting in my apartment playing Xbox at night. I go out and I meet and I talk to as many people as I can in those 4 months that I'm down there. So anyway.
What's the most tangible item that how much expense can they give you an item that you can take home with you? $15.
Yeah, it's the awards that we get for, let's see, I'm trying to think of some of the awards. I'm getting one from the DA's council. I don't know what it is. Last year I got a bulldog, a trophy bulldog. I don't know what that cost, but they've got to report that as a gift. The big gift that they had, I had a guy at home said, what did that $497 dinner taste like? I'm like, I don't know. I've never had a $497 dinner. And I had my EA look into it. That was a gift. And what that gift was I went to a conference in Tulsa, and they paid for 2 nights in a hotel room and my dinners. And I guess they considered the hotel rooms as a gift. But that's what that is. So we covered that. Let's see, driving out here, I saw some combines moving where it looks like wheat harvest. I'm not going to go into the crop report. There's already somebody that does that.
I was going to say.
Carl got that joke. Anyway, contrary to what Carl believes, he is my go-to guy in the house. He is the guy that I go to when I need a house offer. This year is a little tough on the Senate side. Carl always gets the job done for me in the House. The Senate was a little rough this year.
It was.
A little rough. We're in a transitional stage in the Senate. But the 2, what I think is super bills that we got passed is Stand Your Ground. And what that is in 2018, the appellate court said we do not have legislative authority to hear appeals on a Stand Your Ground ruling. So if someone's breaking into your house and you take care of the situation and your defense is Stand Your Ground, a district judge said, no, that was murder. That's it. No appeal to a higher court. So what our bill did is allow you to appeal that ruling. And it works the same way with the DAs. If the judge says, that was a Stand Your Ground, the DA goes, no. He had the option to appeal that to the Court of Appeals. So we got that passed. That was big. That was a fight. That was a fight from the get-go, but we got that passed. Back to the transparency bill. So last summer, man, time's flown. They shut down Fort Supply, the prison. I had a lot of people allegate that, well, the governor is making money. People in the governor's cabinet's making money. They're going to go in there and do something. They're making money off this, either private prison or whatever. And I thought, you know, Carl and I have to fill out a financial disclosure every year. Why doesn't the governor's cabinet and his appointees have to? So we ran a bill that stated that the governor's cabinet and his appointees has to fill out a financial disclosure. Just to let you guys know, the voters in Oklahoma, what these people are invested in. It's transparency, it's just, it just helps keep them clean. Governor vetoed it. I totally understood his veto.
He said he wanted a more broad spread.
Well, yeah, but when I talked to the Secretary of State, and I always forget his name, he's leaving now, but he was...
Ryan?
No, Director of Commerce. Mueller. Scott Mueller. Scott Mueller's a superstar. This guy, he left, he is the regional director for Sachs, Goldman Sachs in Dallas now. This guy knows business inside and out. He worked for the state of Oklahoma for 2 years for free, bringing businesses in. He's done a wonderful job. Secretary of State called me and said, hey, do you think we can get someone like Scott Mueller to work for Oklahoma if he has to give out everything he's invested in? Yeah, I get your point. Let's tweak this a little bit. And so I was not going to push the veto override because the governor vetoed the bill. I'm like, I get it, we'll tweak it, and the governor wanted to expand it, wanted to do some work on it. I'm like, okay, we'll work on it next year. So we had several, I don't want to say scandals, but scandals that came out with the Department of Tourism, some other things. But maybe we need to. And then we amend bills every day, or amend legislation, statutes every day. Let's go ahead and get this in place, and then we can come back next year and tweak it a little bit. But we need to pull the reins up on some of the stuff that's been going on in different agencies. I think you guys expect that of us, and let's go ahead and get this in place. So that was that bill. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I'm not going to talk about bills that didn't make it. I had several. I filed 31 bills, and I think I had 5 that got across the finish line. A little disappointed. Carl brought this up to let you know the inside politics of what's been going on in the Senate. Carl brought this up. We're in Woodward or Fairview, and he was explaining how the House and the Senate works. It's one of our first eggs and issues, and he said now the Speaker of the House is kind of like your dad. He runs the show. He makes sure everything's going as planned. The floor leader is like your mom. She's telling you what to eat. She's the one putting the bills out there. She's telling you what you're going to vote on, that sort of thing. What's the same thing in the Senate? The pro tem of the Senate is kind of like that. He keeps everything running. He's in control of everything. Floor leader is kind of like mom. Well, in the interim last year, the pro tem kicked mom out, got a new mom. And let's just say stepmom didn't like me this year. And so stepmom and I had a little battle. And so I had a lot of bills that did not get heard. We're going to therapy. We're working it out. But it is a battle. And that's kind of the inside politics of the Senate. This year it was a rough year. I kind of said it's kind of like a building year. I was a coach of a high school team, and all my seniors graduated. I got a bunch of freshmen. It's a building year for me. But I do want to talk a little bit about the governor. Carl went over the budget, talked about how we had $2 billion extra that we're saving, about how the numbers coming in has looked really, really good. My belief, what has helped us dramatically is that during COVID, the governor kept us open. That helped our economy in Oklahoma. That helped businesses in Oklahoma. That helped our state budget because we were rolling in tax dollars, sales tax, income tax, rolling into Oklahoma. This is pretty close to me. I live 12 miles from New Mexico. New Mexico shut down totally. I go to New Mexico quite a bit. Walked in the grocery store one day, and we've been, the mask mandate's been over for a long, long time. I walk in, they said, you gotta have a mask on. I'm like, I don't even have a mask. What are you talking about? Well, the governor put another mask mandate on. What? New Mexico's economy and Oklahoma's economy is very, very similar. Big in oil and gas, big in ag, big in tourism. And they have several tribal reservations also. The death tolls and the infected, is that the right term? Not exposed, but people that got COVID, our numbers were very, very similar to New Mexico's. The difference is our governor kept us open and our economy kept churning. And I've got to pat him on the back because he was getting beat up. He was getting pressure from the White House. He was getting pressure to shut us down, and he kept us open. And we see that in our budget today. And I just want to give him some kudos for that because he got beat up over that pretty good. With that, I think.
Can I hit some bills real quick?
You can hit some bills.
Okay, so OMMA is Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, okay? They were under the Healthcare Authority as far as an agency. We have made them a standalone agency. They are separate from everybody else. We gave them the authority to enforce laws regarding that, okay? Also, effective August the 1st, 2022, there will be a 2-year moratorium on any more growers, any more dispensaries, any more processors. No more new licenses will be given out for 2 years. Okay? So we did close that down. It was one of the things, shut that down. Also, on occupational licenses right now, you know, it used to be when I went in, I don't know, I've been in for 6 years, can't believe I have been, but when I went in, if you had a felony on your record, you couldn't get a plumber's license, you couldn't get, you know, architectural license, a lot of things you couldn't get because you had a felony. I don't care if you had a drug charge when you were in high school or college, you were still living with that for the rest of your life. It limited you. And so we have now given the authority to the different groups, like plumbers and stuff like that, as long as that felony does not fall in something that would be, if somebody had been caught, you know, cheating people on license fees or fees on stuff like that, that would still be in play. But if it is a felony that does not fall within that scope, then they would not, they could still go ahead and get that license. We opened up a bunch of them. I mean, plumbers and all those things. So it is a good thing. I mean, my son had a you know, he got in trouble in college. I'm not ashamed. He made mistakes. He paid for his mistakes and moved on. I mean, he never had to do jail time. He didn't have a felony, but he had a misdemeanor. And there was a concern that he might not be able to get into med school because he had that on his record. But, you know, they saw where he explained it to him and got in and went on from there. We don't need to hold something over somebody's head for the rest of their life because they made a mistake in college. Right? And so we moved that so that it would be under that authority. One of the things we've been concerned about a lot this year is human trafficking. Okay? It's coming to Oklahoma as much as any state. And so we've given the Attorney General more authority over that, to help victims and get more information in tracking that and working on that. And then also If you are convicted of human trafficking, you lose your driver's license. Guess how long you lose your driver's license? For life. If you're convicted with a felony human trafficking, that's a lifetime. But you will not have your driver's license. And so it's just basic some way. Another one we had is that third-degree robbery right now is we're including tires, rims, and what else do you think we had? Catalytic converters. We're adding that as a third-degree burglary. And so putting more offense on that, we've had that. Also in domestic abuse, we are, I'm sorry, in our day and time we live in, a lot of people aren't married that are living in the same household, right? But they still have fights and stuff like that. So domestic abuse doesn't have to be somebody you're married to. It's another resident in your house, okay? So we expanded that a little bit. Also, we did get some extra money for rural communities that have damaged roads from oil field. Where would you ever see that? Huh?
South is what else?
As long as your population is under 15,000, which includes all the cities in my district, there's going to be an additional $5 million that they can apply for to help on their roads. And so we're trying to get some money out here to take care of some of that. Just kind of, pardon? No, not per state. That's per state, statewide. But they can apply. That will be an ongoing thing that will be there next year too. So I mean, if you don't get in this year, it's something we can work at. Also, if your community files for ARPA funds or federal funds and receives them, and you have trouble with the matching dollars, you can apply to get the matching dollars from the state, up to $5 million. Both those funds are capped at $5 million. We're just trying to help our communities be able to meet something. And one of the other ones is one of the things we've been fighting for 4 years, and I was involved highly in this, is pole attachments. We've got a big thing on broadband coming down all everywhere, right? What's the quickest way to move fiber down the road? Digging a ditch or hanging it on a pole? Hanging it on a pole, right? So, we have all these power companies that have poles that are running down the highways, and so we worked out a deal where they can attach the internet stuff to those poles. We had no offense, do you guys have AT&T internet around here? You do? And so we had a lot of the bigger ones that were wanting to really take advantage of our rural electric co-ops. And so there was, neither one are happy. AT&T and all the internet people are not happy. The electric co-ops aren't totally happy. So we made an agreement. So it's a fair deal. For the next 4 years, it will cost them $1 to attach to the pole. But then it'll go back up to the normal rate after that 4-year period. So in other words, we're trying to get them on there and move the broadband out to rural Oklahoma. And then also, Senate Bill 2, which makes what? Men play in men's sports and women play in women's sports. That was a big fight we had, wasn't it?
It was, and it killed my whole plan for my son to get a scholarship. Join the women's basketball team. I didn't find a girlfriend, you know.
And then we also made your public schools libraries to reflect the values of the community. Okay? We were having some books that was Pride Month, so anyway, we were having some of the school books and put in there promoting that, and so we felt that way.
Well, the senator that ran that bill was out talking about it, and in Norman, he's a senator from Norman, in their schools, what was in these books in elementary, he was on, I think it was on a TV show, on a news program, they could not even read what was in these books because FCC has rules against that kind of language. And these books are in our elementary schools. That's how disgusting they were.
And then another one we did add, and I never thought this would be something I would have to address in the state capitol, that on your birth certificate you have to define whether you're male or female. There were a lot of them that weren't wanting to do that because they didn't want to have to be labeled that. But I'm sorry, we're biologically different. Men and women are biologically different. Our bodies process things different. You know what I mean? Men retain medicines not as long as women do. And so there are biological differences between the two. So we need to define that going down the road. And I think we need to not be afraid that we are men and women. And so one at a time, I guess I'm veering off here for a minute, but I get to preside as a presiding officer, sitting at the big chair for a little bit. And I got in trouble this year because we have an Oklahoma City representative that is non-binary. In other words, she's neither male or female. And she started to ask a question, and then she said she even defined herself as a she when she got elected, but now she's not a female anymore. So anyway, I said she weighs, and so she came up and got on to me in the chair because I said she weighs. She said I would prefer to be called them or they. So anyway, needless to say, I got in trouble for that. But anyway, not by her, not anybody else. And so we had a discussion about that later, but that's not neither here nor there. But anyway, it's interesting what we get to do.
It's different times.
So,
on the ARPA money, I know I've been getting a lot of phone calls on ARPA money. Really, we didn't do a whole lot during session on ARPA, and that's one reason we've gone into special session, is so we can get this money spent, because it's got to be, a lot of these projects have to be done by 2026. What we got done so far, money out there, broadband mapping, behavior health projects for children, improving water infrastructure, 75 million, broadband workforce, training more nursing assistants, higher ed nursing programs, career tech nursing programs, improve water infrastructure, broadband office, nonprofit relief, higher education on optometry, got 15 million, career tech nursing programs, and healthcare workforce development training commission. Now these programs here got funded. We voted them off the floor Monday, and
we did Wednesday. Yeah.
Because the Senate's always a few days ahead of the House. But that money's being put in those programs right as we're speaking. So we're going to be this summer, that's why we went into special session, so we can continue getting this money out there. Because with the state of the nation and the nation's budget, there are rumors that if we don't spend this money, that the feds are going to pull it back. So Oklahoma's got $1.8 billion. If we don't get it spent, the feds are going to pull it back. So we are still vetting every application, but we are going to get out there and get this thing done. With that, I'm open for questions.
Yeah, questions?
Was the REAP grant fully funded again this year?
Yes. In fact, it was expanded a little bit.
And I'm in favor of eliminating the state sales tax on groceries, not the county or the city. When you see the food insecurity that exists in this community alone, it is shocking. Of course, inflation is tough on all of us, but it's especially tough on those in need.
There was something the other day on the news about the fuel, maybe taking some fuel test on it.
There was an amendment by a Democratic representative that wanted to take the fuel tax.
So what would that do to?
Fuel tax, you pay 19 cents a gallon, no matter what the price is. you're only paying 19 cents a gallon.
But what would it do for erosion?
That is the kicker. Where does most of that money from fuel tax go? Roads and bridges. And so, also, who pays a lot of that fuel tax? People passing through, right? So, yes, it would be nice to, but 19 cents isn't going to make that much difference right now. A lot of that and all that money is allocated to your roads and bridges. So that's why it's not been a flavor that we like. Sorry, that I like. I think that you agree with that, wouldn't you?
What's that?
Not to eliminate the fuel tax.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because a lot of people that are passing through are helping pay for that, and so it helps our roads that they're using and tearing up. So we think it's a fair
What about
shake.
the electric cars?
Well, so since you brought that up, right towards the end of session, there was a little blow up on a bill that we passed last year. And the person that did this article said that we had voted to put taxes on how far you drive, tax per mile. And I was getting a lot of emails. I asked my I said, look, see how I voted on, because that was in 2021, last year. I've slept since then, and we voted on like 1,500 bills. I couldn't remember how I voted. She goes, well, you voted for it. I'm like, why would I vote for that? Because, I mean, I drive farther than anybody. Why would I want a tax per mile? And so I went back and looked at the presentation on the floor. What that bill did was set up a task force, because exactly what you said, what about these electric cars? They're not paying fuel tax. They're not filling up at the gas station down here and paying road tax on this fuel. How in the future, how are we going to pay for fixing these roads when half the cars in the United States are electric? That is something we've got to look at going into the future, because I think the last number I heard, by 2030, half of the cars that Ford and GM make are going to be electric cars. So, as legislators, how do we fix our roads when half of our revenues to fix roads is fixing to go away? So what that bill did was develop a task force to look into what are we going to do. And that was one of the ideas, was tax per mile that you drive. Well, for us that live in rural Oklahoma, that's not an option. For me anyway, that's not an option. Because everyone in my district, they have to drive. Whatever you do, you've got to put some miles on. And so that's not an option, but they're going to be looking at all the options, what we can do. So that is, I'm glad you guys brought that up, because we needed to address
So
uh,
with the
that.
electric cars, I think the point read was that if everybody had an electric car in a block, there would only be 4 houses that could support the charging ability.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
why in
for the
California,
infrastructure and getting that done, is that you put the monkey on like the electric companies to get their infrastructure up where it's running?
so in California, and there are a lot of electric cars in California. A few months ago, they put out a release, please don't charge your cars tonight, because they were having brownouts. Too many people were charging their cars and the grid wasn't holding up. Yeah, that's going to be an issue. The other thing is electric cars are heavier than a regular car. So just the weight on the road is going to tear the roads up more. So we've got to look into options on what we can do to pay for these roads when we have half the vehicles in the United States that are electric.
Does everybody carry a gas generator in their trunk to charge their electric?
They will be carrying extra battery, and for you guys that have heard about Project Ocean, okay, it's a place out by Pryor. There actually is a huge electric battery company that's wanting to come into the state of Oklahoma, and so they're looking at that. So anyway, you're right. It is more weight, and they would be carrying extra batteries in the vehicle. And so there's a lot of things there. So we don't know how to do a surcharge on the battery, surcharge on the vehicle, or how we're going to do it. Surcharge on your electricity. If you have an electric car, you have an extra demand charge from your electric company. We don't know exactly how that's going to happen, but that's why we're working on it. Other questions? Gosh, we're good.
I have one.
I'm kidding. Yes,
There
sir.
was some stuff that maybe came up in the special session about personal income tax rate reduction, possible corporate income tax rate reduction. In my instance, this kind of selfish potential repeal of franchise taxes. Did any of that? Anything?
That was, I'll address that since that was all the House stuff, okay? That we didn't, some of that we didn't hear. We threw out a bunch of proposals. In our special session, which we just came back from Wednesday night. So we went back, we were called back into special session on Monday by the governor, okay? Now, no offense, folks, all the House members are up for election every 2 years, okay? We were in session till May the 27th, okay? Elections, June the 28th. That gives you basically 1 month of campaign. Our opponents have been out there since January. You know, I mean, I started knocking doors in January for a June primary. So they've had 5 months lead time on the sitting House or House members and half the Senate members that would be eligible for election. And so then the governor calls us back for another special session. So what we did as the House, we didn't want to be there any longer. We had to, because we want to get our members a chance to at least campaign for their seats. And so we went in for 3 days, and they went in also. And the idea was, we had a lot of proposals that we gave out to the Senate, and then we sine-died as the clerk's desk is cleared. And so what we did is we gave some proposals, and then we passed what we could on over to the Senate, and then let them look at it. Now, you guys are going to hear a lot of bashing, and we're bashing each other. We're not bashing each other, okay? We're in this together. We're just trying. The House gave some proposals, and I don't know if the Senate's going to agree to them or not. If they don't, we sine-died, and the governor's going to elect this year, okay? Because we're not going to spend all summer spending your money going back and forth to Oklahoma City. We did that in my first year. I spent the whole, I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm only in session 4 months out of the year. And then I went down there, went down there, and I spent all summer down there fighting over tax money. You know, raising their tax.
Carl's wife probably thinks of him the same way mine thinks of me. She thinks I'm a liar. This isn't 4 months out of it. This is every day.
Yeah. And so, anyway, so we want to get some proposals to satisfy the governor's deal. The governor had asked for the grocery tax relief that he was talking about and personal income tax of 4%. There was a lot of other proposals that didn't get voted on. Franchise tax, we did pass in session, but it didn't get voted. We didn't vote it again in the special. We did pass two on the 1/4% personal income tax, dropping it from 4.75 to 4.5. Now you pay a lot more of that on the federal, but your state is 4.75%. And so we offered that as a moratorium for 2 years or as a permanent drop. Those bills passed, handed to the Senate, and they can decide what they want to do with it. Okay? Grocery tax, we had about 4 to 5 bills we passed. We passed a 2-year moratorium. I voted for a 2-year moratorium on grocery tax stopping it, but it would not affect the local or county. Okay? There was another one that was a 2-year moratorium, but yet we would restrict the county and city from increasing their tax. They would still get their tax, but then they would not be able to increase it. Some of them were concerned that, you know, the state's going to drop their 4% on the sales tax for your groceries, okay? Then the county said, well, let's jump ours 2%. People won't notice it, okay? I'm sorry, that's your decision as Woods County decides whether you want to do that or not. Or Alva as a community, if you want to raise your taxes here in the community. That's your choice. So I'm just telling you, the 2-year moratorium is what I was in favor of. And then they also passed one to permanently do the same thing, one without affecting, one with. There was a proposal to eliminate the grocery tax altogether, which would have eliminated the county and the city. That never got to do it. So we weren't looking at that. But those are the things that we addressed that came out of that. So that's what we addressed. We sent those to the Senate. Senate did not sine die to when the clerk says they're still open. They can decide if they want to address those or not. If they don't want to address them, fine. We'll go back next session and deal. The thing is, we received the governor's call for a special session. We went in, we addressed the issue, and we got out. And hopefully in a timely manner. We were there 3 days total. So we were trying to make sure we do that right. Your perspective.
Clarification on it. If you guys repeal the tax on groceries or lower the income tax, will those ever go back if those are easy, correct?
If it's a 2-year moratorium, it just goes away for 2 years.
The moratorium would not require people, but
Right.
any other permanent,
Permanently.
to regather that money up.
So,
For the people.
no, we could do it, but it'd take a 2/3 majority.
Oh, yeah.
It'd take a 2/3 majority to do it, so.
And being through what Carl and I went through in 16 and 17 when we were $1 billion hole in the budget, trying to figure out how to raise revenue to cover the hole, it is hard to get 75 members to
It's a 3/4 majority, not 2/3.
get these bills passed. So hindsight, we wanted to make sure we didn't do anything permanent, that we could, if we hit a wall, which that's what I was going to bring up, the wall is coming. The cliff, however you want to say it, we're as a country, we're going to be looking at some tough times. To fill my pickup up, it's $150. Just me personally, I'm going to have to make some decisions in my household how I'm going to budget. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean I don't bring my kids to McDonald's and get them chicken nuggets and the toy?
Well, you still do that.
I can still do that, right? But I'm going to have to make some decisions, which then that reflects onto your income, which reflects onto the state's sales tax income and income tax. So we've got a cliff coming that we're going to have to be prepared for, and I don't want to sit here and say everything's rosy. It's coming within the next 12 months. I'm hearing before summer's over, gas is going to be at $6, $7. That's going to slow a lot of people up. What concerns me is, are people putting it on credit cards? You saw what the Fed did; they raised interest rates. We've got a cliff out there that we're fixing to go over, and we've got to prepare ourselves. And as state legislators, that's going to affect our budget, our revenue coming in. And I'm not going to say, okay, Joe Blow, you need to fix how you're living, cut your stuff, but as a state, we're going to continue running as normal. No, if Joe Blow in Alva, Oklahoma is having to pull back his purse strings and pull back what he's spending his money on, the state needs to do the same. We're going to have to pull up some reins. And with the savings accounts that we have, maybe we can get through it. But I want to be prepared, because I think it's gonna come and hit us.
Hey, before we finish, we do have Tanner Roberts here, and
I'll be brief because it's already 9, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tanner Roberts. I'm a field rep for Senator Langford, so obviously a lot going on in DC. So catch me afterwards and be happy to give you an update and discuss things that Senator Langford's working on and introduce myself. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate the update on the state level.
And I want to give a shout out to Tanner and Senator Langford. I endorse Senator Langford. I mean, right off the bat. Well, I started getting beat up because I endorsed him, because he had made some people mad, which Carl and I do that every day. It's make people mad every day, and they say, well, what, are you paid off? Did he pay you off to endorse him? I'm like, no. And I picked up my phone, and I said, the only thing Senator Langford gives me is when I call him, he picks up the phone. And what does that mean for you? That means when you have a federal issue that I can't deal with on the state level, Senator Langford's my go-to guy to fix my constituents' federal issues. And that's very important that he picks up my phone call. Because I don't call him to see how the weather's in Washington doing. I call him because I have a constituent that has a federal issue. And him picking up that phone is very important. And we need more people in Washington, at the state capitol, that will pick up their phone and talk to you. So that's why I endorsed him. And then he's doing a great job, but he will pick up his phone.
And I mean, you guys say, well, you guys are politicians. I'm sorry. I'm more back home than I am anything else. If you don't elect Langford, you're going to have freshman senators in the state. That gives you no authority in the state. Langford is very well respected, and what I like about him, I would agree. Some people are mad about the January 6th and all that and everything, but in the situation he was in, I don't know that I wouldn't have reacted the same way. And that's what a lot of them are mad at him about. But he has been conservative. He's voted for Oklahoma, and he has a lot of good relationships. People respect him in Washington. He's well respected among those people that will do it. And I'm telling you, if I don't respect this man right here, I don't care how he votes. I don't care what he wants. I've got to respect somebody before I'm going to even consider what they want. And Langford is one of the most highly respected men in the Capitol. So I'm just saying that. And I'm sorry, are you guys saying it's a political ad for Langford? I'm just being honest with you. That's the way I see it. Because right now he's got 8 years experience, is that correct? And if you don't put him back there, you're going to have 2 guys that have no experience, and then you're also going to have a congressman that has no experience. And so we're going to hurt Oklahoma in the long run.
So it doesn't matter the Senate as much as Congress, but I just want to give you something to think about. Oklahoma has five congressmen. California has 58. New York has 46, I believe. That is 2 of the most liberal states in the union has 25% of what's in Congress. So how we, Oklahoma, are able to accomplish things on the federal level is our guys are there and they get into positions of power. And if we keep changing horses in the middle of the stream all the time, we never get into that position of power. And so you have California representatives, congressmen, and New York congressmen running the show because they've got the power. They've got 100 members that is taking care of their state. So we're already behind the 8 ball because we only send 5 of them. I'm a little prejudiced. I think we send a lot smarter people than they send, but we got to give them a chance to shine. And that's just, I mean, that's just how it works. But we're just outnumbered, and we've got somebody that knows how to get something accomplished. We've got to keep sending them. I made this comment after my first year in the House, when I first got elected. I said, you know, the on-the-job training, it takes you 3 or 4 years to figure out how the process works. And I made the joke, I said, shoot, it took me 6 months just to find the bathroom in the Capitol, let alone how all this process works. So we've got to have somebody up there that knows how that process works. How to push a bill through, or how to kill a bad bill. I'm more proud of the bills I've killed than the bills that I've passed, because those bills that I killed was devastating for where we live.
I know you guys got to go. Thank you for allowing us to represent you. I'm very gracious. Again, this year I didn't draw an opponent, so I get to represent you for another 2 years. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for letting us be there. If you have any questions, I've got my card. I'll give you my cell phone number. He will too. We just want to be there. So thank you again. Have a great day.